Well, first I should say it's been a pleasure to chair this committee. As Neil said, we were reinventing the wheel to some extent as we did our work this first year. But the committee that made this selection, made the recommendation for this year's prize was, as Neil said, very distinguished, and people accepted, all of the people who were approached, I believe, accepted, as he said, without hesitation. And they are leading researchers from the United States and Singapore, as well as Europe. And the fact that Americans and someone from Singapore were willing to help with this enterprise, despite the fact that nominally it's directed at rewarding European researchers, I think is highly significant. And it's an indication of the respect of the whole of the world's neuroscience community for the quality and the strength of neuroscience in Europe. I think Europe can rightly claim to have laid the foundations for modern science with a very long and distinguished history of leaders from Thomas Willis and Galvani onwards through the 19th century, Helmholtz and Cajal, and into the 20th century with people like Sherrington and Adrian, more recently Neher and Sachmann in Germany. Very, very important contributions to neuroscience. But I think that those of us who are in this area would see that the centre of gravity of neuroscience has shifted to the United States because of the scale of investment in research. And it's not that the quality and the amount of activity in Europe has decreased, but it lacks the coherence of a focus. To some extent, the formation a few years ago now of a federation of European neuroscience societies has helped enormously. Before that, Europe didn't even have a very large and fully representative meeting, a conference of European neuroscientists, compared with the United States, which has a simply enormous society, something over 40,000 members of the Society for Neuroscience who meet every year. That really has become the main centre of communication for neuroscience. About 1/3 of the people who go to that meeting are not from North America. That's an indication of how much activity is happening elsewhere in the world, but somehow the coherence and the focus has shifted. I think that with the establishment of the Federation a few years ago, and now this prize, which distinctly recognises European neuroscience, we have an opportunity to reaffirm the significance of neuroscience in Europe.